Hi, I'm Shawna Kelty, and I am the director of Bunnicula.
Hi, I'm Lillian Faulkner. I am the assistant director and head of wardrobe.
Hi, I'm Reg Sutphen, and I am the music director of Bunnicula.
I'll defer to you.
With the assistant director role, I remember going to Shawna and just saying like, "Hi, what am I doing?" And she's like, "Just we'll feel it out. We'll see how it goes." And so that's what we did. During rehearsals, I just looked for spots where I could help out actors or Shawna or the choreographer. Not so much Reg, because music's not my forte, but I would just help out wherever I could, and eventually started to figure out where I needed to do things. And kind of the same thing with head of wardrobe. Erica, if she didn't already have something ready for me to do, which she usually did, I would look for other things that I could work on.
I took a very, really tried to be as accessible as possible throughout my role. I really focused on teaching people what they needed to learn, but also offering people opportunities to really learn about music and how to read music and how to, really work on their own stuff. I really tried to, have people take ownership of their own musical journey throughout this process.
So I'll just add my own in there. So as a director, I try to create an atmosphere that's collaborative, that is not my view, but our world that we're creating. And I try really hard not to say, you will be doing this, right? But allowing for agency and development and your own goals within your role. And both of you have been fantastic in stepping up in a myriad of ways, but also offering agency to your collaborators, and I so appreciate that. Monty Python.
Well, yeah. Do you want me to start? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I've been doing theater my whole life. I started when I was like 2, because I was that obnoxious child. I wanted to be in front of an audience at all times. But when coming back to college here at SUNY Plattsburgh, I knew I wanted that to be a part of my higher education as well. And actually, yes, Spam-A-Lot was the first show I did here. I knew nothing about the show. Unfortunately, still to this day, never watched the movie. But I got an amazing role in that show, and I had such a wonderful time and made so many new friends and met amazing faculty. And I knew I just had to keep going, and then I ended up adding the theater technology certificate as well. And I'm learning about all the aspects that I never got to try, and it's just really amazing.
I have always had an interest in theater growing up. I never really got to embark on that until I got into high school. And then, the first show I ever got into, COVID hit, and I didn't get to do it. But that kind of drive, that kind of drive really stuck with me throughout the pandemic, and I knew that I needed to dedicate myself to the arts. So I came here studying music first, and then I, got bitten by the theater bug, if you will. And, my first trip to KCACTF actually inspired me to add the full major and, stick around long enough to complete it. And, I don't think I could live without it.
So I say Monty Python. I have to actually attribute, I grew up in rural Nebraska, so there wasn't a lot of theater going on. But there was this thing called Sesame Street and then the Muppets. And really the Muppets was my first experience of like seeing theater. And I went, wow, I think I want to do that. But I was also a very shy child. So it didn't actually get involved in theater until I was a junior in high school. And then I still kind of thought about it for a while. And then college happened. And it is, like, you just get pulled into this thing, and it goes from being something you're fascinated by to something that is calling you, right?
I would say that
Can I help you if I thought of something?
sure.
The amazing stuff you did with MuseScore and
Oh,
making
yes.
sure everyone
Yeah.
could have music that they could use was really cool.
Right. Yes. I rely heavily on music technology, as I am not very proficient in piano playing. I can read music, but kind of the dexterity I don't really have. So I relied heavily on application called MuseScore. So I created these musical tracks that people could kind of follow along their own sheet music with. And they could also, listen to their own parts on their own. So I use that in both teaching the music and giving people access to that software so that they could learn it on their own. And it took a lot of time because it's not automatic. I had to create those, all of them, for both primaries and understudies. But yeah, that's been a really, really solid part of my journey with this.
Sure. So Erica designed these really cool costumes that are these like no waste designs. So all the fabric that was purchased was used in the costumes. And then I assisted her in dyeing the fabrics, cutting out all the pieces, and learning to use an actual sewing machine to put them together, and all of the other just intricate things that went into that. I learned so much that I've been wanting to learn these skills for years because my mother was like a don't touch my sewing machine kind of mother. So I always wanted to learn how, and Erica was so patient, which was wonderful. And I've learned about, it's not just, okay, we measure the actor, we sew the pieces together, and ta-da. There's so much more that goes into it. Talking to the actors about what they're comfortable wearing, making sure things don't clash with the set or clash with the dance moves they have to do. There's so many details. It's really fascinating, and I've really enjoyed learning every bit of the details, and also working with the actors within that world as well is really fun.
I think I'll go first. Some of this music is very, very intricate. There's just very specific things about this music, and there's no official recorded version of it. So we really kind of went in blind with the music. I heard a piano track. I had MuseScore kind of play it back to me, and that was my only kind of experience hearing that music. So it was really about, helping the cast find their voice within those notes. That's been my biggest challenge.
I'd say my biggest challenge, I don't know, I have to think for like another second.
It's okay. I can say as a faculty member, as a director, challenges, I don't know that we had some melt, which happens. So it's not a different challenge, it's just a challenge. But the fascinating thing about theater is theater always finds a way to solve it, if that makes sense. I don't know, it all works out at the end. And not that we just kind of sit back on our laurels and say, oh, it'll be solved, but there's always someone who steps up or steps in or offers. So, or we problem solve. That's a lot of what we do in theater is creative problem solving. So it's never like, oh, this is hard. It is hard, but it's not unsurpassable. Is that a word? I don't know. So I'm just thinking about like major challenges. I don't really know. beyond the sort of regular things that come our way.
Actually, I did think of something. I think one of my bigger challenges with specifically being an assistant director is being on the other side of it. I've done theater for a very long time, and I have done things where I'm on the other end, but I'm usually working with small children when that happens. And, you know, they're cute and their parents are gonna clap and smile and love it either way. But being on the other side and having to help actors or choreographers or anyone when it's not me doing it is so strange. Because I know what I'm thinking, but communicating it to someone else is just a whole different skill that I've had to develop, and I think I've done a good job, but that was definitely challenging.
It's really playful, and not to say that other shows aren't, but you know, when you're putting on a play for smaller, more imaginative, not that adults aren't, but imaginative minds, and they may know the story, they may not, but we're also embodying animals. The world of our play is pretty playful, which means that we can create characters and responses that are maybe bigger than your average drama. I always think about like energy levels, and you don't want to be overly energetic, right? But finding that good balance that you're inviting them in to the world and asking them to be curious about it and wanting to be curious about it without sort of like energetically overwhelming them. That might be my interpretation of it.
I agree with everything you're saying.
But you have done far more children's theater than
I have, but I've always been on the end of preparing small children to perform for either their peers or their parents and families. So it's the other way around of showing kids, you know, how to portray a story. But I have worked in schools as a substitute, and getting kids to sit and listen to a story is hard. So finding ways to make it engaging beyond just how pretty and fun it is to look and listen, it's so much more to really grasp a child's attention and hold it. So I think we will be able to do that. I'm pretty confident.
I think for me, it really echoes, you know, what Dr. Kelty said about play. I think it not only unlocks, it just frees you as an actor, I think, being able to just play, just do. Because, you know, studying acting, it requires a lot of studying the human mind, studying the human behavior. And, you know, you can get so wrapped up in it, in the little specific things. Not that you don't hear, but I think this opportunity really allows you to create a bigger suspension of disbelief, to create something that is wild and really out there. And, you know, it'll help you be a better actor, I think.
Please cut that out. So last thoughts. I feel really fortunate to have the collaborators that I have, from Reg and Lily to Margaret and Erica, Adele and Styx and Bear and Maddie and the entire cast and crew, but each of them each of them contributing something, building the world of the play, that it really feels collaborative as opposed to, this is my idea, how are you going to fill in those gaps, right? So that we are collectively building something that we all agree upon, that we've built this universe together, and built our practice together, so that there is collective ownership as opposed to, well, we put on that show for the theater department. I don't know. So I'm just really appreciative of my colleagues. So yeah, I'll end there.
I think something I do want to say is I tend to be described as someone who's like overly social, but I've had such a wonderful time getting to know everyone involved with the show, whether it's people that I already knew, but getting to know them more because I'm getting to work with them more has been such a fun experience. Especially Bear and Maddie. I didn't know them that well last semester or last year, but like I had started to get to know them. Getting to know them even more, especially working on the show, was wonderful. And getting to know all the actors more, especially people who are new. New faces make me so happy, and hearing them be like, oh, I can't wait to do the next show, I can't wait to audition for this or that, is so great, because I love when new people not only get involved, but they stay involved.
I really just love seeing the work that we've put in. I really loved seeing, the payoff from that, and, just acknowledging, where that came from and how it came to be. And also, I feel like I've experienced a lot of growth as an artist, and, this experience is a first for me, but it absolutely will not be a last.